Don't you dare blame this on me. This is your fault. Just look at what you've done. I hate you. Get out.
What happens when the battle for control turns into a deadly game of manipulation and revenge? Imagine a man who has everything: wealth, power, success. But what if all of that could be taken away in a single moment by the one person he thought he had under his thumb? What if the person he tried to control becomes the very person who destroys him? In today's video, we delve into a world of power, greed, and revenge, where nothing is ever as it seems. The once confident and untouchable man, certain that his wealth and influence would keep him at the top, finds himself facing an adversary he never saw coming: his own wife. The woman he thought he could dominate, manipulate, and shape to his will turns out to be the one person who can shatter everything he holds dear. What begins as an attempt to control a marriage turns into a high-stakes game of betrayal and cunning, where the line between love and manipulation blurs beyond recognition. The rich man's carefully constructed world is about to unravel, and all of it starts with a single, devastating choice. In this story, the millionaire husband thinks he has the perfect life, his business empire is thriving, his marriage is just a piece of the puzzle he's mastered. But it all changes when he forces his wife to sign a deal, a contract that binds her to his terms and conditions. A deal meant to maintain his control, to ensure his power remains intact. However, what he doesn't anticipate is the quiet, methodical way she begins to play him at his own game. She's always been more than she appears, and what begins as an act of submission turns into a series of calculated moves that will leave him reeling. As he tries to hold on to his empire, she slowly, strategically, and cunningly takes it all away. What started as a simple power struggle escalates into something far more dangerous. As the stakes grow higher, both characters are forced to confront their own demons, one in a desperate bid to reclaim control, the other in a final act of vengeance. By the end of this story, the tables are turned in a way that will leave the man questioning everything he once believed about power, love, and control. The penthouse is quiet, bathed in the soft glow of city lights that filter through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside, the city pulses with life, but inside, there is no peace. The air is thick with tension, a feeling of unease that has settled like a weight in the room. She stands by the window, her back to him, eyes staring out at the city she's been promised but never truly part of. He watches her, his thoughts racing. Every day that passes, he feels his grip slipping. At first, it was simple: a contract, a deal, a way to ensure that his life stayed as perfect as it seemed. But now, there's something different. A shift, an air of defiance in her posture. She's no longer the submissive woman he once controlled. She's something else now, calm, composed, and ready to make her move. He tries to convince himself it's nothing. But deep down, he knows it's not. She doesn't say a word. Her silence is deafening. It's as if she knows exactly what he's thinking, what he's afraid of. The more he watches her, the more his mind begins to unravel. What is she planning? What is she really thinking? The walls of their once perfect life are starting to close in on him, and with every passing moment, the stakes rise, setting up curiosity to keep viewer hooked. But what if the game they are playing isn't just about control? What if it's about something far deeper? Is she really the victim he thinks she is, or has she been playing him all along? Is her silence her only weapon, or is it just the calm before the storm? What if the real game is only just beginning? Let's dive into the story and see how it all unfolds. The penthouse is quiet, save for the soft hum of the city below, a far-off echo of the life pulsing just outside their glass walls. The towering skyline gleams under the night sky, but inside, there's no comfort, no peace. The opulent furnishings, the glossy surfaces, and the polished floors, all reminders of his wealth, feel cold and distant. The relationship between them is strained, like an unspoken agreement stretched to its breaking point. The silence between them is suffocating, heavy with unresolved tension. The once perfect life they built together now feels like a house of cards, fragile and unstable. Every glance, every breath between them seems to carry an undercurrent of hidden conflict. The battle of wills is evident, but neither is willing to make the first move. She stands by the window, her profile illuminated by the city lights, gazing out at a world she once thought she was part of. He watches her from across the room, unsure of what exactly has changed, but knowing deep down that something has. The woman who once hung on his every word now seems distant, lost in her own thoughts, perhaps even plotting her next move. His grip on her, once ironclad, feels like it's slipping, and the realization claws at him, gnawing away at his composure. He feels the need for control. It's the foundation of his life, his business empire, his reputation, everything. But lately, there's a growing unease. He has always been the one in charge, the one who makes the decisions, who dictates the terms. But now, there's an underlying fear that he's losing his grip, a fear that he can't control her the way he once did. She no longer looks at him with admiration, or with that vulnerability he used to exploit. Instead, she's calm, too calm, an enigma he can't decode, and it drives him mad. In her stillness, she seems powerful, and that scares him more than anything else. He knows that she's been changing, evolving, becoming someone he's no longer certain of. But what frightens him the most is the way she has become the one with all the control, despite the outward appearances of submission. She, on the other hand, feels an unfamiliar sense of strength growing inside her. Every day, the reality of her life, once a gilded cage, now a prison of her own making, becomes more apparent. She sees the facade crumbling, the carefully constructed world he's built to hold her in place, and something inside her awakens. She has been quiet, obedient, and compliant for years, but the silence isn't just submission anymore, it's strategy. She understands the power dynamics now. She's learned that the strongest weapon is often the one that remains hidden. And so, she waits, knowing the time will come when she will finally take control, just as he once took everything from her. The tension is palpable, thick in the air. It has been building for days, even weeks. He watches her, desperate for some sign of emotion, some hint of the woman he thought he knew. He can't stand it any longer. His frustration boils over, and before he can stop himself, the words come out in a frustrated rush. "What do you want from me?" he asks, his voice sharp, cutting through the silence. He tries to mask the crack in his tone, the undercurrent of desperation, but it's there. It's too late to pretend that everything is fine. She doesn't turn to face him immediately. She takes a time, as if considering his words, weighing her response. Finally, she slowly shifts, her gaze locking with his, but her eyes remain unreadable. There's no anger, no sorrow, only a quiet, unsettling calm. Her voice is calm, too, but the words hit him like a blow. "I don't want anything from you. You're the one who's lost everything." He blinks, thrown off guard. He was expecting a fight, an outburst, perhaps even tears. But instead, she speaks like someone who has already accepted the inevitable, someone who is ready for whatever comes next. Her words hang in the air between them, and for the first time, he feels a deep, unsettling sense of vulnerability. His heart begins to race, his breath quickening as the weight of her statement sinks in. Lost everything, he can't help but replay the words over and over in his mind. What does she mean? How has he lost everything? He hasn't lost anything. He's still in control, still the man who commands respect in every room he walks into. But deep down, he knows that something fundamental has shifted. He's been so focused on holding on to his power, his empire, and his wife, but in doing so, he never saw how far she had drifted away. And now, just like that, she has the upper hand. He's not the one pulling the strings anymore. She is. The walls of his carefully curated life are crumbling, and it's not from the outside, it's from within. She's not the woman he thought he could manipulate anymore. She's no longer playing by his rules. And in that moment, he realizes that the game is changing. But does he have the power to stop it? Or is it too late for him to reclaim what is lost? As the tension lingers between them, the stakes are higher than ever. What he thought was his world to control is slipping through his fingers, and soon, he'll have to face the consequences of his need for dominance. What happens next? Will he finally confront the reality of what is done? Or will he continue to play his games, only to watch everything slip away? The answers lie ahead, and the deeper they go, the darker the consequences become. Every day, the unease grows. The internal struggle within him becomes more evident with each passing moment. He's always prided himself on his ability to control situations, to bend people and circumstances to his will. But with her, it's different. She's no longer the woman he married, the woman who needed him. She's distant, like a cold shadow in the corner of his grand life. Her presence alone gnaws at him, chipping away at the false sense of security he's built around them. His mind races, his thoughts spiraling out of control. He wonders if she's been planning this all along, this quiet rebellion that's now surfacing. Could she have been pretending for years? Was their marriage really just a facade, a calculated move for something bigger? The idea gnaws at him, and the more he thinks about it, the more unsettled he becomes. His mind can't keep up with the emotions swirling in his chest. Fear, anger, confusion. He has no answers, just more questions, and that scares him more than anything else. The more he tries to assert his control, the more she slips through his fingers, becoming harder to pin down, harder to manipulate. He notices the small things, the way she speaks, her tone, her gaze. It's like she's seeing through him, dissecting his every move, understanding his weaknesses. Each time he tries to impose his will, she grows more defiant, more confident. And the worst part is, he doesn't know how to fight back. He doesn't know how to win against someone who no longer fears him. The emotional tension in the house has reached its peak. Every conversation, every glance feels like a battle, but neither of them is willing to show weakness. It's been building for days, small, sharp moments that have accumulated into this one final clash. It's inevitable. There's no avoiding it any longer. He can't hold it in anymore. He needs answers. The frustration boils over. What do you want from me? His voice is sharper than he intends, laced with frustration, desperation, and an undercurrent of something darker. The tension in the room is almost suffocating. He expects her to break, to cower before his anger, as she always has in the past. But she doesn't. She stands still, looking at him, her expression unreadable. She's calm, almost too calm, and that infuriates him. Her silence drives him mad, as if she's already made her decision, and there's nothing left for him to do but wait for her to act. "You think you know everything about me?" she asks, her voice cold, dripping with sarcasm. "You have no idea who I really am?" His pulse quickens, but he hides it behind a mask of indifference. What is she saying? She's always been the quiet, obedient wife, the one who followed his lead without question. But now, she's challenging him. There's something in her eyes that he doesn't recognize, a fire that wasn't there before. The words hit him like a slap. He wants to retort, to accuse her of being irrational, of losing her mind. But for the first time in their marriage, he's not sure if he's the one who's in control. He feels the ground shifting beneath his feet, and the realization is almost paralyzing. In that moment, it clicks. He's not in control of this game. He's been playing by her rules all along, and she's known it. She's been the one pulling the strings, manipulating him, and he never saw it. She has always been the quiet observer, learning, calculating, and now she's finally ready to make her move. The man who thought he could control everything, the man who believed his wealth and power made him untouchable, is now facing someone who's dismantling everything he's built with the slightest of gestures. A wave of realization crashes over him. His stomach sinks. He thought he had power, but she's been quietly taking it all away, piece by piece. Every word, every action from her has been a calculated move in a game he never even knew he was playing. She's not the victim in this story. He is. She's not the one who's been trapped in this marriage. He is. And now, it's too late for him to turn back. The stakes of their conflict have just escalated in ways he can't even comprehend yet. What started as a small disagreement has now spiraled into a battle of wills, of manipulation, and of survival. The realization of what she's been doing sinks in. She's not just taking control of their marriage, she's taking control of everything. His empire, his legacy, his reputation, all of it is in jeopardy. She's no longer his trophy wife. She's the mastermind, and he's the pawn. Every decision he makes, every move he takes, seems to only make matters worse. He's losing control in ways he never imagined. The businesses he built, the wealth he so carefully curated, now, they feel fragile, at risk of crumbling. What started as a game has become something much more dangerous, and with each passing moment, the danger grows. She's not just trying to hurt him. She's trying to destroy him. And the worst part is that he doesn't even know how to stop her. He's always been the one who controlled everything. His empire, his life, his marriage, but now it's all slipping away, and he's helpless to stop it. As the stakes rise, so does the fear. The fear of losing everything, of being exposed, of being the one who's played. And with that fear comes a new kind of desperation. Desperation to regain control, to prove that he's not weak, that he can still win. But the more he tries to regain control, the more he realizes that he's no longer playing the game. She is. And with every new piece of information, the danger deepens. The consequences of their actions are becoming more severe, and he has no idea how much further they can both go before everything falls apart. The question now isn't whether he can win, it's whether he's already lost everything. The tension in the air is suffocating. As the hours pass, he can feel it, the weight of the walls closing in around him. He's never been this vulnerable, this exposed. His fortress of control, the empire he so carefully constructed, is crumbling piece by piece. Each move he makes feels like a step deeper into a trap he doesn't fully understand. The unsettling silence that hangs between them in their lavish home is almost unbearable. His heart beats faster, each pulse pounding in his chest like a countdown to something terrible, something inevitable. He can't shake the sense that this is the moment when everything he's taken for granted will collapse. She hasn't spoken much lately. Her silence is worse than any argument. It's like she's waiting for the perfect moment, and he can feel it coming, like a storm that's been gathering just on the horizon, ready to break. The uncertainty gnaws at him, driving him to the edge of madness. Every time he glances at her, he sees something different in her eyes, something cold, calculating, distant. He knows she's no longer the woman he married. The quiet, obedient wife who once adored him has been replaced by someone else, someone who doesn't need him, doesn't depend on him, and most terrifyingly, someone who seems to be in control. The woman he tried to manipulate, the one he thought he could break, is now the one pulling the strings. His mind races as he tries to predict what she's planning. What is her endgame? And worse, what does she want from him? The questions swirl relentlessly in his mind. The truth is clear now. He has no idea who she really is. And that realization leaves him feeling small, weak, and completely powerless. And then, in the quiet chaos of their empty, cold mansion, the bombshell drops. It's not a question, not an accusation, just a statement that shatters the entire foundation of his existence. "I'm not just the woman you married," she says, her voice steady and cold. "I'm the woman you destroyed." His mind snaps to attention, and for a moment, he can't even process her words. "What do you mean?" he asks, his voice a mix of confusion and disbelief. The fear creeping into his heart deepens, something primal waking up inside him. Her eyes narrow, but there's no malice in them, just the cold certainty of someone who's known the truth for far too long. She steps forward, her movements deliberate, each one a calculated motion in the game they've been playing without his knowledge. "You really have no idea, do you?" she asks, almost pityingly. "You think you're the reason I'm here, that you bought me, that I owe everything to you?" His heart races now. He's hearing words he didn't expect, and they hit harder than any blow could. He feels himself stumbling, unsure whether he's awake or caught in a dream. The air in the room grows thick, and she leans in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "My father, he lost everything because of you." She lets the words hang in the air, heavy and suffocating. His entire world tilts. The ground beneath him shifts, and he feels like he's sinking deeper and deeper into a pit of his own making. He stares at her, stunned, his mind struggling to piece together the fragments of what she's just revealed. His father-in-law, the one man he thought was just another pawn in his world of deals and power. The man he had destroyed in a business deal years ago, the man who had been so desperate that he'd taken his own life after losing everything to him. Her words echo in his mind, reverberating in a sickening rhythm. "You think I'm just the woman you won in a bet," she continues, her voice quieter now, more detached. "But you've underestimated me. I've been waiting for this moment, waiting for you to ruin yourself. And now, I'm taking everything." He stands frozen. His entire body stiffens as the weight of her words sinks in. The blood drains from his face, leaving him pale and trembling. His breath comes in shallow, ragged gasps as guilt floods over him like a tidal wave, drowning everything in its path. He can't breathe. The world around him starts to spin. The woman he's tried so desperately to control, the woman he thought was just a trophy to his success, is now revealing that everything, the trust, the love, the marriage, has been a lie. And it's all his fault. For the first time, he sees her not as his wife, but as someone else entirely, a woman driven by vengeance, by a quiet fury that he failed to recognize. The man who always believed that his power was unshakable, who thought he could manipulate and control everyone in his life, now finds himself powerless before the woman who knows exactly what is done. And in that moment, he realizes he's been the villain in her story all along. His mind races, replaying every decision he made in that deal. The destruction of her father's company, the way he had ruthlessly driven him to bankruptcy without a second thought, the way he had seen it as just another business transaction. But now, looking at her, all he sees is the woman whose life he destroyed, and he can't undo the damage. He can't take back the things he's done. The revelation changes everything in an instant. The bond they once shared, however fractured it may have been, is now shattered completely. There is no going back. The lies, the manipulation, the power dynamics, they have all been exposed for what they are. The man who thought he had it all is now broken, his power stripped away, his wealth meaningless in the face of the truth. And she's no longer the victim. She's the one in control now, the one with all the power. The tables have turned in ways he could never have imagined, and there's no denying it now. He's been played. The walls between them, once held up by pretense and shallow affection, now fall away entirely. She's no longer the woman he controlled with money, with influence. She's no longer the helpless wife he thought he had under his thumb. She's the one who's been quietly planning, patiently waiting for this moment. And now she has him exactly where she wants him. Everything he's built is now in jeopardy, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. The house, the business, the wealth, it all means nothing now. He's lost everything, and she's the one who has taken it from him. The tension in the room is unbearable. What was once a marriage of convenience, a union built on power and wealth, is now something darker, something dangerous. The emotional toll on him is evident. He stands there, paralyzed, unable to process what's happening, what is lost. The woman who once stood beside him is now the architect of his undoing. But it's not over yet. In this game of power and revenge, there's still one more move left to be made. And for the first time in his life, he realizes that he's the one who's been checkmated.